Atlantis.
Atlantis.
Yeah, you know, that lost city that's been in stories and movies and you name it.
Right.
But we're going beyond the myths and the legends today to see if there's any truth to this whole Atlantis thing.
Yeah, it's amazing how a story that's over 2,000 years old can still capture the imagination like Atlantis does.
It really is. And so that's what we're going to do today. And what's really interesting is we're going to look at the idea that maybe, just maybe, Atlantis was based on a real place.
Oh,
A
what?
Richat structure
Okay.
in Mauritania.
It's Mauritania. Yeah, okay.
You ever heard of the Eye of Africa?
I have heard of the Eye of Africa. Yeah, that big like bullseye in the Sahara Desert.
Yes, and it's huge, like hundreds of kilometers across.
Huge, yeah.
You can even see it from space.
I've seen pictures. Yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah, and so some people think that that is Atlantis.
Really?
We're going to see.
Okay.
So to do our deep dive today, we are using Plato's dialogues, Critias and Timaeus,
Okay.
which is where he lays out, I mean, in great detail, what Atlantis is.
Right.
We've got maps, we've got images, and we've got some research from a guy named David Stig Hansen,
Stig Hansen. Okay.
who is like, I think that the Eye of Africa is Atlantis. Like, he's pretty sure.
Wow, that's commitment.
Yeah. So let's start with Plato.
Let's start with Plato, all right?
So Plato describes Atlantis as like this super powerful, very advanced civilization.
Okay, well, so they were ahead of their time technologically, is what you're saying.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And he describes it almost like architecturally. He gives us all these details.
Really?
Like concentric rings of land and water. Okay. And then a central island right in the middle. And on that central island is a temple.
In the middle of all the rings, okay.
Yes, dedicated to Poseidon and Plato.
Poseidon, all right, he mentions this in Critias, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just making sure we're all on the same page. All right, so Poseidon, concentric rings.
Yes. And he even talks about this metal or a calcum.
Or a calcum, what is that? Some kind of alloy or something?
Well, nobody really knows, but he describes it as being, you know, more precious than anything except for gold.
Like rarer than gold, wow.
Yeah, mined only in Atlantis.
Okay, so this is like their big export or whatever, or a calcum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Canals, bridges, harbors. I mean, he's really painting this picture of a civilization that is way ahead of its time.
Thousands of years ahead of its time, if they're real.
Right. And this is where the Eye of Africa comes in.
Yeah. Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's go there.
So imagine like a series of perfectly concentric circles.
Okay, like a bullseye.
Yeah, like a bullseye, one nested inside the other.
I'm with you.
And then in the middle is this, like, island.
Okay.
That's what the Richat structure looks like.
From space.
From space, yes. And it looks exactly like how Plato described Atlantis.
Wow, so you're saying they're a match, like visually at least.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I've always heard that the Richat structure was formed naturally.
Oh, yeah.
Like erosion and all that. Not by, people, but by nature, geological processes.
That's what, most geologists will say.
Right,
That's
yeah.
the mainstream explanation.
Okay.
But just for our deep dive, let's just say it's not natural.
Okay, I like where your head's at.
And we even have this map that labels the Richat structure as like the capital of Atlantis.
You're kidding?
And it shows that it would have been near the Pillars of Hercules,
Which are?
the Strait of Gibraltar.
Oh, the Strait of Gibraltar, okay.
So like right where Plato said it was.
Huh. And this map, where'd you get this map?
Oh, we'll link it in the show notes.
Okay.
But it even shows a dried up river that would have been like a mega river
Wow.
back in the day,
Mhm.
and like a potential ancient canal system that would have supplied water to Atlantis.
So they had running water.
Yeah, so, I mean, come on.
Well, maps can be misleading, right?
Of course.
I mean, they're powerful, don't get me wrong, but it's all up for interpretation, right?
Right.
It's not like a photograph.
Exactly. It's not a photograph, and that's why we have to go to, like, boots on the ground.
Okay.
And that's where Stig Hansen comes in.
All right, let's hear about Stig.
So he has dedicated years
Years. Wow.
of his life to exploring the Richat structure.
Wow. He's got to be onto something then to dedicate that much time.
He's done multiple expeditions there,
Wow, okay.
and he is convinced
Hey,
that he has found evidence of man-made structures there.
like what?
Canals, quarries.
Quarries.
He even thinks he's found artificial seawalls.
Wait, hold on. So he's saying that they literally, brought in, stone and built walls.
That's what he believes.
Wow, that's a bold claim.
It is. It is. And he even thinks that a particular area of the Richat structure, which is now a crater, was instantly vaporized by some kind of impact.
From space or something.
Maybe. He doesn't really say.
Yeah.
But, something that would explain the sudden disappearance of Atlantis.
Right.
If it was Atlantis.
So what you're saying is this impact, whatever it was, wiped them out.
Possibly. But here's where it gets really interesting. really crazy.
Even crazier. All right, lay it on me.
He thinks that those quarries that he found could be as old as 1.2 million years old.
1.2 million? Are you serious?
Yeah.
But that would mean, that changes everything about human history.
Everything we thought we knew.
1.2 million years? Are you sure he's, credible?
Well, that's what we have to consider, right?
Okay, this is a lot to unpack.
It is.
You've got this guy, and he's saying he's found evidence of a civilization that's over 1 million years old.
Yeah.
And that just happens to line up with the story that Plato wrote.
Right. What do you think?
I don't know what to think.
Is he right?
It's a long time, 1.2 million years.
It's a really long time.
It makes you wonder, what else is out there? It's a lot to process, that's for sure.
Yeah.
On the one hand, you've got this very intriguing research, this idea of a 1.2 million year old civilization.
Right.
That's fascinating. Who wouldn't be? But on the other hand,
yeah,
we have to be careful, right? We can't just jump to conclusions. We need evidence.
Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We need that evidence.
And that's why we have to consider,
the other side.
The other side, what if?
Right, what if?
There are other explanations. Or what if other people have looked at this?
Right.
And come to different conclusions?
But too.
Well, like this guy, Michael Hubner.
Okay, Michael Hubner, what'd he do?
He's a researcher.
Okay.
And he was trying to figure out, where is Atlantis?
Okay.
If it's real, where is it?
Right.
And he took a very different approach than Stig Hansen.
So no expeditions for this guy, huh?
No expeditions. He,
more of a, indoors kind of guy?
Yeah, he's a data guy.
Okay.
He likes data.
He likes his data.
Yeah, so he built this statistical model. Based on, Plato's writings.
So he's taking all the details from Critias and Timaeus and...
All the details, all the geographical clues, the geological clues, everything.
Okay, and plugging it into this model.
Plugging it in.
Signed Atlantis.
To try to pinpoint the most likely location for Atlantis.
Don't leave me hanging. What'd he find?
Southern Morocco.
Southern Morocco. Yeah, that's nowhere near the Eye of Africa.
No, not even close.
Wow. Okay, so we've got two guys, both looking for Atlantis, both using totally different methods.
Totally different.
And they're thousands of miles apart? What does that tell you?
I don't know. What does it tell you?
That maybe, just maybe, it's not as simple as we want it to be.
Right, maybe it's not just as easy as looking at a map or digging in the dirt.
Exactly.
There's more to it.
There's always more to it, isn't there? The past is complicated. We bring our own baggage, our own biases to how we see it.
Okay.
It's a good reminder, I think, to be open to different ideas, to different possibilities, and to be careful about jumping to conclusions.
So what you're saying is, even though those two guys disagree, we could still be right.
You're catching on. That's the beauty of it, right? It's all about interpretation.
Okay, so then what if, and hear me out here.
Okay.
What if Plato never even meant for Atlantis to be a real place?
What?
What if it was all a metaphor?
A metaphor. Okay, it sounds crazy.
It does sound crazy.
But I kind of get where you're coming from.
Okay.
We're talking about Plato here, right?
Yeah.
The OG philosopher and his dialogues, they're always about these big, meaty topics like morality and ethics and...
meaning of life.
Exactly. So maybe Atlantis, it's not a real place, Maybe it's just this cautionary tale about what happens when a society gets too big for its britches.
Becomes too powerful.
Too powerful, too arrogant.
And they get destroyed.
Destroyed by their own hubris.
Their own hubris, yeah.
It's a classic story, isn't it?
It is a classic story.
And that's what makes it so powerful, because it can apply to anything, anytime, anywhere.
It's power corrupts.
Absolutely.
And absolute power corrupts.
Exactly. Maybe that's what he was trying to tell us.
Yeah, so maybe Atlantis isn't a physical place, but it's a real warning.
There you go.
Okay, so where does that leave us?
I don't know. You tell me. You're the host.
Well, if it's not a real place, then does it even matter if those quarries are 1 million years old?
That's a good question, because if they are 1 million years old, then that means there was something there, somebody there.
Way before we thought people were capable of building things.
Exactly. So maybe, even if Atlantis isn't real, the fact that those quarries might be that old, that changes everything.
It changes everything.
It really makes you wonder what we don't know about the past.
Yeah, and what else is out there just waiting to be discovered?
Exactly. We find new things all the time, right?
That's true.
Things that challenge what we thought we knew.
Like what?
Well, you've got the pyramids, right? Stonehenge. Nobody can really explain how they moved those stones.
Right.
And then there's the Antikythera mechanism.
What's that?
Oh, it's this ancient Greek device, like a computer almost.
Really?
Yeah, they think it's over 2,000 years old, and it's incredibly complex. Like, we're still trying to figure out exactly how it worked.
So you're saying that there's evidence, even today, that maybe ancient civilizations were more advanced than we give them credit for.
Maybe. Just maybe.
So if there were these advanced civilizations, and I mean, that's a big if.
Huge if.
But if there were, what happened to them?
I don't know. That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, did they just disappear?
Like overnight?
Maybe, or maybe it was gradual, but either way, their knowledge, their technology, it's gone.
Lost to time.
Lost to time, yeah. Or maybe, just maybe, it's not lost at all.
What do you mean?
I mean, what if it's still out there, buried somewhere, waiting to be found?
Okay, so you're talking like lost libraries, hidden chambers, that kind of thing.
Exact. I mean, we've all seen the movies, right?
Yeah, but that's the movies.
Sure, but sometimes truth is stranger than fiction.
True, true. Okay, so let's say there's this lost library somewhere.
Filled with ancient texts, star charts, who knows what else.
And it holds the key to understanding these advanced civilizations.
The question is, where do we even start looking?
Right, back to the Richat structure.
Maybe. Or maybe somewhere completely different.
This is why I love these deep dives. Always more questions than answers.
That's what keeps it interesting, right?
It does. So, where do we land on Atlantis?
Up to you. What do you think?
Honestly. I'm going with metaphor.
Metaphor. Okay, so you think Plato was trying to tell us something?
I do. I think he was warning us about the dangers of power, of greed, of, I don't know, thinking we're better than everyone else.
Because that's what brought Atlantis down in the story.
Exactly, and it's something we're still dealing with today.
True. So maybe the real Atlantis isn't a place at all.
Maybe it's something we carry within ourselves.
Whoa, deep.
Right. But that's what we do here. We go deep.
We do, and on that note, I think we've gone deep enough for today.
I think so too. But keep thinking about those quarries 1,000,000 years old.
1,000,000 years, that's a long time.
It is, and if those dates are right, who knows what else is out there? Maybe Atlantis is just the tip of the iceberg.
Maybe it is, and that's what's so exciting about history, about archaeology, about exploring the unknown.
You never know what you're going to find.
Exactly, and who knows, maybe one of our listeners will be the one to uncover the next big discovery.
Maybe they'll find Atlantis.
Maybe they will, but until then, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and most importantly, keep an open mind.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, so you know how we're always hearing about Atlantis, this like mythical sunken city? Well, get ready for a major perspective shift because this book, The First Men of Atlantis, it throws that whole sunken city idea right out the window.
It really does flip the script.
Seriously.
We're not talking about some magical underwater kingdom here.
Right.
This book, it presents Atlantis as a technologically advanced civilization.
Right.
Maybe even like more advanced than we are now, which is
Right.
kind of wild to think about.
Okay, so how advanced are we talking? Like flying cars advanced?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? They're gone. But the book, it argues that the evidence, it's not at the bottom of the ocean. It's scattered around the globe. We've just been looking at it the wrong way.
So all of those incredible ancient sites, pyramids, those massive stone structures, those are...
Well, the book connects a lot of that back to Atlantis.
Yeah.
Even to Plato. His dialogues, Timaeus and Critias.
Okay, yeah.
The book claims those weren't just stories Plato made up. It says he was working from real accounts, passed down, that even the Egyptians believed.
Hold on. So you're saying the Egyptians, those master builders, they were taking cues from someone else?
That's what this book is suggesting, yes.
Yeah.
That they might have been a colony, an offshoot of this Atlantean superpower.
Whoa, okay. So if that's true, then the timeline of, like, everything we think we know about civilization, that's all gotta be
Out the window, quite possibly.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got this advanced civilization, a global reach, deeper roots than we thought. But how does the book even start to prove this? Where's the evidence for this Atlantean empire?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. The book, it points to a whole network of sites all over, and they share all these similar, really specific features.
Okay, so like a giant breadcrumb trail left by these ancient architects, spanning continents and everything.
You could see it that way, yes.
Tell me more. This is where I really started getting into this whole thing. So give me some examples. What kind of sites are we talking about here?
Well, the book mentions the Olmec heads in Mexico, for one.
Oh, yeah. Those massive stone heads.
Exactly. And those are thousands of miles from say, Machu Picchu up in the Andes Mountains.
Completely different continent, different culture, right?
Right. But then you've got those Moai statues way out on Easter Island.
See, now those always seemed kind of out of place to me.
And the book would agree with you. It even connects the Ellora Caves in India, carved right into the rock.
Wow. Okay, so all these places, they're scattered all over, but the book's not just saying, hey, look, these places exist, right? It's saying there are these weird, like, similarities between them.
Exactly. And those similarities, they go way beyond just, oh, ancient people liked pyramids. The book suggests a shared knowledge. Take the pyramids, right? It argues that those weren't just about, like, a shape.
There was more to it.
Much more. The book talks about sacred geometry, astronomy, maybe even harnessing energy somehow.
Now that you mention it, I do remember reading something about how those structures, they might be aligned with the stars or something.
There's that, but then there's the stonework itself. These massive polygonal blocks, cut and fit together. The book claims we couldn't even replicate that today, not with that precision.
Seriously, with all our lasers and computers and stuff.
The book says no, that we've lost something, some ancient knowledge.
Huh. I always wondered about those blocks. Like, how do you even move something that big? Did they have, like, anti-gravity back then?
It's a good question. And then there's more. A lot of these sites, they have these networks of tunnels, caverns underneath.
Oh, right, like secret passages and stuff.
Some researchers think those might have been shelters, even like ways to get around.
I've heard that, like a whole network connecting all these continents.
A sort of prehistoric internet, but for people.
Mm.
The book even suggests.
Okay, but hold on. Before we go too far down that rabbit hole, let's go back to something you said earlier. How could a civilization like this, so spread out, so advanced, even exist back then? I mean, we're talking, what, thousands of years ago?
The book addresses that, and this is where it gets really interesting. It ties the whole thing to the Ice Age.
The Ice Age? Wait, really?
Sounds crazy, right?
Yeah.
But it makes sense when you think about it.
Okay, so how does ice factor into all of this? Okay, so Ice Age, advanced civilization, I'm not seeing the connection.
Well, think about it this way. During the last Ice Age, the world, it didn't look like it does today.
Yeah, okay, less Starbucks, more glaciers. But how does that
What's that?
equal super advanced humans?
Well, the glaciers, they covered huge parts of the planet. Habitable zones where people could live, they were much more limited. The book suggests that really ups the pressure to, innovate, to survive.
Okay, I can see that. Limited resources, everyone competing. But if they were that good at surviving, shouldn't we have more than just these, like, mysterious buildings left? Where's the tech, the tools, the instruction manuals?
That's where the book gets really interesting. It suggests those things might be right in front of us, we just don't recognize them.
What do you mean?
What if those tombs we keep finding, they weren't tombs?
Whoa, okay, going full ancient aliens here.
Yeah.
But seriously, what else could they be?
The book doesn't say, but it makes you think. And the carvings, those intricate patterns, what if those are more than decoration? What if they're blueprints, formulas, something we just haven't deciphered yet?
So like a hidden code built into the architecture? Man, that would be incredible, but how do we even begin to figure that out?
Well, the book argues that we need to start by questioning our assumptions. Like carbon dating. Useful tool, but what if it's not giving us the full picture? Especially with these structures carved right into bedrock. They could be far, far older than we think.
Older how? Like twice as old? 10 times?
The book leaves that open. But it's clear it's suggesting we're dealing with timescales we haven't even considered.
Okay, that's a whole other deep dive for another day.
Right. But there's one more piece to this whole puzzle. Remember the story of Poseidon from the book?
Yeah, the ruler of Atlantis, right?
Yeah, his family.
Yeah.
The book makes a point of mentioning his wife's ancestry. She wasn't Atlantean. She was African. And their kids, they were twins. Lots of twins in their lineage.
Okay. But how does any of that connect to, like, lost civilizations and all this?
The book argues that those details, they're not just about telling a cool story. They point to something much bigger, interbreeding. Not just between early humans and, say, Neanderthals, but between groups we thought were totally separate.
You're saying those ancient hookups, they're the key to all of this.
The book suggests it might be how those Atlanteans got so advanced.
Wow.
That mixing those different lineages, it created something truly unique. And the legacy of that, it's not just in their buildings or their tech, but
in us.
The book argues that, yes, it's in us, in our DNA. It's why humans are so diverse, so adaptable.
Wow. Okay, we've gone from sunken cities to Ice Age survival to like the building blocks of humanity. That's a lot to
It
process.
certainly makes you look at the world a little differently.
It does. It really does. And I think that's what I love about these deep dives. You pick up a book thinking you know what to expect, and bam, it changes how you see everything. So, big question, and I guess we'll leave it right here. If this lost civilization, if they were so advanced, what happened? Where did they go? Maybe we're all just a little bit Atlantean and haven't figured it out yet. If you want to explore more of these mind blowing theories, check out The First Men of Atlantis. Trust me, it's a wild ride. Thanks for diving in with us.